Four Seasons. I'm your host, Ken Johnson. So every month we've got some type of theme that we try to do, and then I throw in little bonus episodes whenever possible. And so in October, it was Mediation Week, and so I did a special thing on mediation restorative justice, if you remember that. If not, go see that. That's a very good episode if you ever want to know what mediators do and what restorative justice is about. But a lot of Americans have some sort of Native American heritage. And in Florida, we have an unusually high amount of Native American peoples. A lot of southeastern woodlands tribes, Creek, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Seminole, a lot of different southeastern tribes came to Florida at various points in their time, in their history. And so that's the case with my own family. And while I have different tribes represented in my family ancestry, the biggest one is Cherokee. And so that is what I claim. And I actually belong to a tribe locally. So this is going to be in honor of Native American Month. November is Native American Month because mainly from the European, or what we say in Cherokee, the Onega perspective, this is Thanksgiving. And so it was with this that they decided, okay, we'll do the Native Americans. And unfortunately, Thanksgiving is about the only time Native Americans get any acknowledgement anymore. And that is sad. And it's just sad. That's all I'm going to say about that. But because of my heritage and because I do talk about culture and conflict, and I do refer a lot to Native American culture in particular, I get called out a lot during this month to go to schools. And a lot of the teachers like for me to have little projects. And the one that most people want is they want me to do Cornhusk dolls, and they want me to tell the story of the Cornhusk doll as it's been told to me. And so I thought what we would do is do a little training session on how you can make Cornhusk dolls at home. And I think that would be kind of neat because people are stuck inside now, and they're always looking for fun projects with the children. This is a little messy, so please have some place where you don't mind a little water. So what you do is you go to the Hispanic section, and they'll have dried corn husks. So you just, it's like $2, $3, something like that for a big giant bag. And it's to make tamales. And so what you do is you take these corn husks and you soak them in water. And what I did right before the episode, I got some hot water and I put it in a zip top bag and I let them soak for about 30 minutes. And then I just kind of wring them out the best I can. So the reason for that is that you now have something that's pliable and will not crack. And so then what I like to do, just split because these are very big. If you're using something like sweet corn, the husks are a lot smaller. So if you happen to be on a farm or have access to sweet corn husks, you'll want to definitely use not split them like I'm doing here. The corn that Native Americans had and the corn that you see in mostly Hispanic communities are what we now use to feed livestock with. And we didn't really have sweet corn like you think of it now. We didn't eat that. We would, Cherokee, we have multiple types of corn. One of them is called White Eagle. It's really neat. I grow it. And the whole idea is that it's a kind of a purple corn, and then every once in a while you'll get some white kernels, and sometimes those white kernels will look like a bird flying, and that's the reason why it's called white eagle. There's other types. So different tribes have their own corn. So you'll see blue corn a lot. You'll see white. You'll see reds. You'll see some yellows. Sometimes they'll be dented. That's called dent corn. It's a high starch. Then you have others that's called flint corn. That it's definitely got a high starch, but also has a high protein. And what we would do is we'd take the wood ash. Normally we cooked with hardwood ash, and we worked with hardwood ash. And so we'd take the ash, put it into an earthen vessel, put some water in it, and then we'd put the corn in it, and then let it heat by the campfire overnight. Why did we do that? Because wood ash, when you add water to it, makes lye. So if you remember from your science classes when you was in high school, hardwood ash with water will make a lye. So you're doing a thing called nitrification. It's a fancy scientific word, and it just means that the lye is transforming the corn, because if you eat corn, it really does not absorb into the body. That's the reason why when you go to a bathroom, corn is pretty much still intact. I know it poop stuff, you don't really want to hear it, but that's the way it is. Well, when you nitrify something like corn, it has all these protein structures that bind up all the niacin and all the nutrients. And so when the Europeans went over back home, the places that adopted corn did not know that, and they were starving to death, and they didn't know why. And then eventually they came back to us, and we're like, yeah, you guys soak it in some basically lye water, ash water overnight. And then what you do is you go to the stream and you pop off the skins, and that gives you what's known as hominy. And so one tribe is actually called Chickahominy, which means the people of the corn, and in their language. And that's where we get hominy from, is that it's a Native American term for corn. It's not my tribe's. We call it selu. But hominy was adopted by a lot of people, and it's now in the English as hominy. And it means nitrified corn. If you ever eat hominy or you eat grits, well, if you eat grits, you're eating hominy. You just don't know it. But it's got a texture all its own. It doesn't taste like corn as we know it, because we're used to sweet corn. And so unless you're into pozoles or anything of that nature, and you're used to the Hispanic version, you probably wouldn't ever know what hominy tastes like. And the difference between grits and the Italian version is that they don't nitrify the corn. And so that's the main difference there. So you'll have some of these television chefs that they say, oh, it's all grits. No, it's not grits. Grits is not the cut. It is also the type of corn you're using. If you cut it in coarse shapes and you have no nitrification of the corn, then that is not grits. And really you get no benefit out of it. It's just, it tastes okay, but you're not going to get anything good at it for you. But anyway, what I've done is I've took about 5 corn husks and I split them up. And then I just kind of bunch them all together like this. And the reason for this is you're going to be making a head. And I'm actually going to take a few of these out. I don't want my head to be that big. And so what I have here is what's known as raffia. And you can buy raffia in any supply shop. And I'm going to split my raffia up. And I soak my raffia just as I soak my corn husk. You don't have to. Some people never do, but I do. I think that soaking the raffia gives you something that's a little bit better than what you normally would get otherwise. And so what I do is I take roughly the joint. You got two fingers, so the lowest joint, and I put it down here like that. And then where that finger, this finger is right here, that, so you see that joint, that longest joint is right here. It comes to the end, but this finger is a little bit longer. So by doing that, I now have a marker. I know where to put my raffia. I take a piece of raffia and I hold it with that finger in place and I wrap, and you can tell I am pulling. That's the reason why I like, oop, it just popped. See? But if it was dry, you couldn't do that at all. So again, I'm wrapping, I am pulling tight. Maybe not as tight as I did have it because I was going overboard to show you, and I wrap about 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And now what I do is I tie a few of what we call granny knots or overhand knots. And this will be the foundation for your head. Take some handy dandy scissors and cut that off. Okay, now what you do, you take this and flare it out. You see how that's flared out now? There's the end, there's the other. And I'm going to fold this over. So I'm going to do this constantly to fold over. And because I did a small amount, I'm going to have a smaller head. If I did a big amount, I would have a bigger head. So some people, they say, Ken, I've got this huge head on this doll. And then others say, I've got a small head. I don't know why. Well, it's the number of, you see what it does, it actually forms a head. Now down here is where that knot was. So what I'm going to do is do the same thing, and I'm going to use this. Actually, I'm going to split this once more, and I'm going to wrap again. And I'm going to wrap below that knot. You can feel it, you can sense it. But like I was going to say, people go, well, Ken, I've got too big, I got too little. It's the number of corn husks that you used for your head. So that is the reason why you have an issue. And again, some tight granny knots. I'm going to do about 3 on this one. I'm all fingers because I'm trying to worry about showing you all how to do this. So normally I put this in my lap, do it where I got more control. But in this case, I'm bumbling it up a little bit. I apologize, guys. And then I'm going to do just another one, be safe. Because heaven forbid it bust on me. All right, and then what I'll do, trim. So you trim as you go. We now have a head. Don't look much like a doll right now, but it will. All right, now, the next section, we're going to be doing the arms. And so I'm getting out a large piece. Now, if you'll notice, I'll come back here. It's getting a little bit ragtag, but you also see that one side is dramatically bigger than the other. I want to cut this, and I'm taking, I would say, about 2.5 inches off of this. And that roughly goes to the base joint of my forefinger. So that's about 2.5 inches, 3 inches. And now I have something that's a little bit more usable. So what I start doing is I start trying to roll it up. And the idea is just to kind of get it into a workable piece like a cigar shape. And I'm just trying to get cigar shape something more even. That's the whole reason for cutting. I use the first joint of my finger here, my forefinger. I use that first joint as a measure. And again, I use this as my hold. I take and I hold it and I wrap tight. Make a few wraps, about 5, 6, 7, whatever you want to do. The whole idea is that you want to wrap as tight as you can, because when it dries, if you don't wrap tight, it's going to shrink on you. And so some people, they're like, Ken, I did what you said, but it's falling apart. Well, it fell apart because you weren't doing it tight. I can't explain enough or repeat enough. You got to do it tight. So this is one arm here, and we're doing this in real time so you can see how fast this is going. I want you to know exactly how fast you should be expecting this to go. Again, I'm going to go right here, wrapping, tying, again, more granny knots you can do, the better off you are. It doesn't have to be even. This is rustic. Think about it this way. They were back in the fields. You have some children crying, and you're trying to get something done so you can go about your daily business. Normally, this would be an elder, because the elders would kind of take care of the children, tell them stories, and kind of keep them occupied, and they pass along the information to the children. So right here, I think it kind of looks like hair in a face. So what I'm going to do now, even though I've got, you can see on this side, there's no split, I'm going to go ahead and split this. It doesn't matter. So people are like, well, I can't find a split. Well, make one. I'm not saying you can't make one. So make a split. And this right here now goes over, because you can see the split that I did. And I just insert the arm in here and even it up. And then I take my fingers and I just do like that. So now what I do, I take this right underneath, I wrap around a few times, and the whole purpose of this is to lock the arms into place. Now, some ladies are very skilled at this, and they braid the corn husks. And so I have found some wonderful craft ladies that they do the braided, and then that way some of them will put wire in the braid so that they can bend it and it's flexible. Some will actually tie or stitch the hands together, and so they're able to do all kind of little motions with the arms that you cannot get my way. But that's your arms. Now we got some more of these. So what this is, this will now be the dress. So all I'm doing is wrapping this around, and I go around. So with only 6 of the corn husks, we have now made a doll almost that is about done. We'll end up using 7 on this one. And so what I'll do then is I'll do another right here. What I do is I try to look, make sure the final 2 overlap. So if I'm looking away right now, and I'll show you the final right there. And I try to have this little thing where it looks like a dress. Again, critical, hold under the belly and start wrapping tight. And the whole purpose of this has got to hold it in place. And I do a wide wrap. I'm doing multiple wraps, but I'm just cinching it into place is all I'm doing. So I'll show you in just a second so you can see the final product. This is that so far at this stage. Very simple. Again, after you tie it off, trim. The final step in all this is I take and split it up. Again, you've got that end part about the same as this, and I cut. Okay, so I split it and trimmed it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the edges and kind of fold it like this, trifold. And then I take and I fold over like that. Then what I'll do, same thing. And fold over. I ain't going to do it because I'm on video and you're not going to listen to me. And do it like that. So now you have the two overlapped. And so then I'll get a piece of raffia. I'll give an extra long piece and hold it with my finger. And this is where I wrap multiple times. I'll do a granny knot in the front. I'll tie multiple granny knots. But then I'm going to do something a little bit different once I tie these granny knots in. I'm going to actually trim these up a little different. I'm going to take and trim it a little long. And the reason why is now it's got a belt. So there you go, the Cornhusk doll. Now I'm going to pause this video and I'm not going to waste your time with me making another, but I'm going to get to a certain stage. And the reason why I'm pausing the video is so I can get to a certain stage because I want to show you how to do a male doll. Let's say that you have a young boy and he wants a male doll, or maybe you got a young girl and she's wanting to have a boyfriend for her doll. And you're going to probably get asked that, so I'm going to help you get there. You'll notice you got to have a place to put all your junk because you're going to have scraps. So let me pause this. I'll be right back, and I will have another doll in the works that you can look at. We will go look at the boy doll. So just one. Okay, so we're back. And in roughly the same amount of time I've got it to this stage. Remember this stage? Okay, so what you do, you split these into legs. Now, the legs will not be long enough. And so what I've done, I've got another corn husk. Again, doing the little method where I cut off some, cut that off. Once you learn a few of the basic steps, I know it seems a little daunting at first, but it's really not that hard. Split it in half. You've seen something like this before. Same technique. And so what I'll do is I'll wrap this, the little end, because I've got so little area to work with and I got big fingers. I'll wrap this around a few times to make a little extension leg, okay? And so this one will have a little funky little fit, but that's fine because that corn, sometimes the corn will be rumpled. And it's just how the corn grows. It's the nature of that corn, and you get it. So you just do like before, you just wrap a few times and you tie it off. And so what I'll do is I'll do the same thing on the other leg. But while we're doing that, and I'm tying everything off and trimming, I thought what I would do is tell you about how it came to be that I learned about the male one. Trippy stuff tends to happen when I do these dolls, especially when children are around. And I just got done teaching a class at church on how to do Cornhusk dolls, because churches, ironically, are very interested in this as well. And so I did this class, and right after the class, I had a bunch of children that was getting ready for a birthday party, and they crashed into the place because we were having to give it over for the birthday party. And they saw that I had some corn husks left over, and I had some dolls. And I had colored dolls because you can color the corn husk with dyes, food coloring, whatever. And so I had multiple colors. I only had enough for maybe 5, 6, and there was 30 children. And so they kept on. They was like, I want this one, I want that one. I didn't have enough really, but to make maybe one doll of each color, if that much. And I kept telling them, I don't have the ability. But I kept making the dolls. And finally it got to be, well, I want purple. Well, I ain't got any more purple. Stick my hand into the container I had, pull out purple. And they just kept coming. And I just quit worrying. And so they'd say, I want a green one. I pull my hand out and they put my hand in the basket and there'd be green. And I wasn't even looking anymore. I wasn't worrying. I just gave in. I think there's something good about that spiritually, that you need to give in sometimes, because we say a lot of times, well, there's been no sign. There's been no sign. Well, because you haven't surrendered. Surrender. And so I find children is a good way to make you surrender, because they're not going to take no for an answer. And so I'm making all these dolls. And then a boy was with the group, and he said, I'm a boy. I don't want you to make me a girl doll, but I want a doll. I want a boy doll. And I said, I don't know how to do that. And then a voice came in my ear and said, don't worry, I'll show you how. And so this is where that instruction came from. And so I started making boy dolls. So I'll continue this story in just a minute. But what you do, just so he doesn't have bell bottoms, I'm going to kind of scrunch these up. And again, same thing, first joint. I'm going to wrap a few times and tie this off, and I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So same thing you would do for arms, you're just doing for leg extensions. So getting back to the story, we have done, especially my tribe, have done Cornhusk dolls at public displays and things of that nature for a while. And I remember getting a phone call, and they were doing a thing called Trunk or Treat. which is kind of like a trick-or-treat alternative done by the agency that handles the adoptions and things of that nature. And so I got a call, and everybody was frantic. I'm like, why are you frantic about a children's event? And they said, well, we don't have enough Cornhusk dolls. We don't have enough Cornhusk to make the dolls. We have way too many children and not enough Cornhusks. And we don't know what to do. We need you to figure out something for us. Okay. First thing I said, you got more than enough Cornhusks, which they thought I was crazy. Which normally they're right, I am crazy, but I'm good with it. So we went, I said, let me make the Cornhusk dolls. And we will have enough. We'll have more than enough, because I've always ended up with extra after these trippy moments. That's the thing that gets me. You have maybe enough for 5 and you end up with enough scraps for 20. You're like, that is impossible. That cannot take place, and yet it does. And it's trippy. And that's the reason why I call them my trippy moments. And so we was able to do the entire event, no problem. There was plenty enough Cornhusk to go around. So what you have now is a boy doll with some slacks. Now, what I like to do, again, that little method where I cut off some, it was common for guys to wear kind of a tunic-like thing back in the 1800s because we were trying to adapt to what the Europeans thought we should look like, because they called us Indians, because they thought we were from the Indies. So that's the reason why you see a lot of southeastern tribes that they, I'm actually going to cut this shorter, so probably about half the length, because it's just too long for me. It's not tunic, it's dress looking. I don't want the guy to have a dress, I want him to have a tunic. So we started wearing things like turbans and things of that nature. And it was just to make the Europeans, the Nega, feel more comfortable around us, because they thought we were from the Indies, because they're idiots. So here you go, the tunic part wrapped around the bottom like you would the dress. Same procedure, wrap around. From here, you should know the drill. So all you really did was make some leg extensions, and that's it on that one. It's fairly much the same way after you've done the leg extensions and did the tunic wrap. And so then you trim. So got that part done. And if you'll remember the little swash that we do, cut off some of that, split her in half, fold it a little bit, wrap over like that, this a little bit, wrap over, and of course it's not doing what it's supposed to do because I'm on a video, but I just take the two ends and just pull them so it makes an X, and once it makes an X like that, then I take, and this is going to be the head here, so I'm going to hold it with my thumb, hold a long piece, wrap under the arm, wrap real tight, and as before, you want to leave a long tag. You want that nice long tag so that it looks like a belt. And it's all nice. You got your multiple granny knots to hold this thing in place as it dries. and then you trim long, and you now have a boy doll right here. Boy doll. Girl doll. And what will happen, you see these little ends, people will go, how do you get them to curl like that? They'll actually curl up and they'll kind of do like little fairy things. If you don't want that, you just flip it around, use the big one. It actually becomes like a regular traditional dress. But a lot of people, they like that little fairy look. So that's these. And I get asked, and this is what I do at schools and things of this nature. I get asked a lot, why don't the dolls have faces? So this is the story as I was told. In Cherokee culture, we have three things that we relied upon to keep us alive. And they're called the three sisters. So you had Selu. Selu is corn. She is also basically our version of Eve. We had Selu and Kanate. Kanate means hunter. I actually have a nephew named Hunter, and so my nephews and nieces always ask me, why do you call him Kanate? Well, that's Hunter in Cherokee. And it's kind of funny because sometimes I can't remember Hunter, but I can remember Kanate, and I'm like, what is your real name? What is your Christian name? Hunter. So anyway, our Adam and Eve is Kanate and Selu. But anyway, you got corn, Selu. Then you got pumpkin or squash, that's Iya. And then you got Tuya, which is beans. And the three sisters, that's what we used to grow in our gardens. So you would grow corn, and then the pole bean would grow on the corn, and then the squash or pumpkin would grow along and keep the weeds out. And by eating pumpkin, corn, and beans, you could basically get all the nutrients that your body needed for the day and stay alive. And so that was survival 101. And you would have that crop that you depended upon to keep you alive for the rest of the year. And you would dry and preserve the corn and the beans and the pumpkin so that you could put them in stews and all sorts of stuff. And every meal you ate was bean, corn, and pumpkin because you needed that just to live. So we believe in God. One way of saying God is Yehovah, which is very similar to Jehovah, or Jehovah as it's also pronounced in Christian teachings. Another one is Unequa. So that is creator. And so then under creator, there's spirits and principalities that we believe in. And basically these spirits and principalities, although that we do have some that are evil, that would be akin to the devil, we believe that a lot of them are servants of God. And so Selu has a spirit, and Tuya has a spirit, and Iya has a spirit. And the story says that the spirit of Selu was sad. She was upset. She felt that she was not beautiful and had nothing to give as praise to God. That Tuya was slender and had all these tendrils, and she was so elegant. And then she had flowers that she gave up as an offering to God. And then she had the food. And so she took care of the people and did her duty, but she was elegant and beautiful. Even Iya, the pumpkin spirit, she had her vines and tendrils, and although she wasn't as elegant as Tuya, she was still very elegant, had the blooms, which were a blessing. They were offering people could eat the blooms. And then she also had the squash, which became food for the people. And so, although Selu was the supporting part of these three sisters, she felt she had nothing nothing beautiful or benefit to the people or to God. And so she took her husks and she crafted some dolls, just like what I made. And she put on them faces, and they were gorgeous. And because she was enchanted, she was a spirit, and it was her husks, they became enchanted. And so they became alive. And so she told them, go to the people and help them. Offer your assistance wherever you can, help them in any way. But because they were beautiful, they would sit around all day long and just stare at their reflections in still pools of water. And so this angered Yahweh, the Unikwa, the creator. And he got very upset because he knew the purpose behind their creation. And he thought it was a good one. But because of their vanity, he needed to act. So he wiped away their faces and made it where they were no longer enchanted. And so he told the people that they could still make the dolls because the children thought they were so neat. He said, you can give them as toys to your children, but never put a face on them. And the reason for that is I want you to understand the lesson of vanity and not to be vain. And so our dolls never have faces on them. I hope that you've enjoyed this little special episode. And whenever I have something fun or interesting, I will definitely try to provide something of interest. If you have any ideas for things you'd like to see on this episode, please comment below. If you have any questions, I'll be working on a questions episode soon, and we'll address those in the near future. Other than that, this is normally the point in time where I offer opportunities for you to buy from people. As always, the first one I mention is my wife, Tasha, and she owns Toshana's Creations. She creates shirts, coffee mugs, tumblers that are very affordable but super high quality. So if you think of the $60 epoxy tumblers that you really can't use like you want to, you can't put them in the dishwasher. You have to treat them with kid gloves. You don't have to do it with hers. You can put them in a dishwasher. It's going to be safe and fine. And it'll be high quality, very personal. You'll have a one-of-a-kind creation that you like. And it will not break the bank. It will definitely be less than half of the $60 you normally pay for the inferior tumbler. So that will be down below. Look for Toshana's Creations, and please purchase from her. She will thank you, and also the people you give them as Christmas gifts, they will thank you. Another person that I always talk about is my friend Ricky Wallace. And Ricky is a super cool guy. He is ex-military. He's brilliant. He is genuine through and through. What you see is what you get. So if you see him on the YouTube channel, you're going to get him in real life. And that's what I love about him. So if you go to Wallace, Knifeworks, and Homestead and like and subscribe his channel, I'd really appreciate that. And consider buying a knife from him. So he uses reclaimed materials to make most of his knives. And so this one, again, everybody has seen this multiple times. I've got others, but this is my favorite. I love this knife. And so as you can see, my finger is perfect for when I'm hunting. I'm dressing out a deer. It is just what I like. The pen or the neck knife that I keep that I've shown y'all before, this right here, good for little trimming, things of that nature, especially if you're in a wilderness environment and you need to have something, you don't have scissors or anything handy. It just wears around your neck, perfect every time. Finally, there's opportunities for you to purchase from me. I've shown this one, I think is last episode. This right here, it's hard to see, but it is a feather that has a picture of a dolphin painted on it. I do paint on feathers. That is one of my things. I've won awards for it. It's considered a heritage art, and so people like to buy those. I sell them for $15 a piece. I have an inventory of some already made, but if you want some made, I can do it. That is also shipping added in. And then I've already shown this one before. I've got others in my inventory, but you can see that right there is a belted kingfisher, and you can see how big this is. This one right here normally sells for $250, but I'm trying to clear out my inventory, so I'll sell it for $100. Glare resistant glass, already framed. All I gotta do is ship it to you. So those are some things that you can purchase. Your family would love it. Unique Christmas gifts. Great to put on your Christmas tree, stocking stuffers. Wonderful gifts. Another thing that you can stick in a stocking or give as another gift is this right here. It's my award-winning book. This is just one of the many awards that's won. And it's a writer resource book, but even if you have somebody that is a bibliophile, a bookworm, they will love it as well. So I suggest that you try that out and get them wherever fine books are sold. You can go to ebooklingo.com if you're wanting to get an ebook and get that version cheaper than you can anywhere else. I have a special deal with Ebook Lingo. Again, like and subscribe to this channel if you like the content. Please place any comments or suggestions down below, and I'll look forward to talking with you again. Have a good day.